Hi, welcome to Straight Talk. You know, we focus on this show to talk about addiction and recovery, to give you information that's going to help you or someone you care about who has a substance abuse problem. Today on Straight Talk, we're going to focus in on relapse. Why are so many people relapsing when they get out of treatment? What's the trigger? And what can we do to maybe make it easier for people to stay clean when they come out? And the best way to talk about this is to talk with some people that have been through it. And so we have a couple recovering people joining us today on Straight Talk, sharing their stories so that maybe it'll help some other people. And I'm very happy that they're here and very grateful that they're here. And here's Jaime Montanino is joining us. Jaime, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. You have a story to tell, but I want to say first that you are now working in the field. So as we hear your story, we know there's a good ending that you're now working to help others at the Fresh Start Recovery Center, which is right outside of Washington, D.C. So congratulations on that and being clean and sober, but it wasn't always that way.
No.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm originally not from this area. I have been raised in New Jersey, where I have older siblings who were heavy drug addicts, and I just always thought I was different. You know, I'm the youngest of the three, and I didn't realize how, alcohol and marijuana can affect you throughout college years or anything really. And it turns out I was even worse than them, and it's crazy because alcohol is legal, and I was still in denial for so long because I didn't have a needle in my arm or I wasn't smoking crack, and my life hit a bottom multiple times, and I've fallen and broken teeth, I flipped cars, I've been arrested, and my parents sent me off to rehab, and it was like, no, like I'm better than this, just because it was a legal drug, and I would go to rehab and still think like my parents are crazy. It's because I have older siblings who are hard drug addicts. Like they think I'm one, like, no, I'm just young having fun, And I would come home and I would be like, I'm gonna go to AA and like try this thing for a couple weeks and see how it works out for me and prove to them like I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not an addict, and move on with my life. And I wouldn't even make it 2 weeks. I would make it like maybe like 4 days and I would relapse, And I thought it was possible for me to go out and take my friends somewhere and be the designated driver, still in such denial because at a young age, thinking alcohol is a drug, like it's super hard, especially in the college years. And it was just so hard for me. So I went to the rehab, I did the AA thing, I came home, and within a month I relapsed again. And I was given a choice because I was completely dependent on my parents at the time. And they were like, you're either out of the house or you're going to another treatment facility. So I did it myself. I called the same treatment facility that I was in out in Pennsylvania, and I went out there, did another 30 days, came home, maybe did like another month and a half clean. That was the most I had until this last time, like 70 something days. And of course I relapsed again. And it was like a constant hiding, lying. How can I do this to manipulate them? I'm not bad enough, like all of these things. And finally, it wasn't even me being like caught by my parents this last time. I just hit like an emotional bottom. And it wasn't until my brother, who's an older addict, told me to answer the phone call to one of his friends that he met in rehab. And I did, and she told me to come to Maryland. And when I came down to Fresh Start in Maryland, I guess answering the phone call was my first way of surrendering, just being like, I don't know what to do. Like this is like, yeah, my parents are forcing me out. I just don't know what to do. And I went down, and the entire time, all I cared about was, how do I get back to New Jersey? I met with my family, like, I did family sessions with my therapist and just being like, you have to help me convince my parents to let me go back there. So I can go back to my same friends, my same guy, like go to the same bars, but I won't be drunk, this time. And up until 3 days before I was discharged, I got a taste of like what it was like, because the Fresh Start facility offers partial hospitalization program where they still bring you out to meetings, and I met some people and I felt comfortable. And I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I stay around? I don't have to actually stay here this time. My parents knew I completed the first 30 days. Let's try it out. If I hate it, I can always move back home then. If I like it, I can stay. And
you liked it?
I loved it. Here I am. I just celebrated 2 years on Sunday.
Wow, congratulations.
And,
congratulations.
2
years.
2 years.
2 years sober and clean.
Yeah.
What's amazing and about your story and so many others is that you go through, you reach that bottom, you go into treatment, and you come out and you feel good and and then all of a sudden, is it just the power of the drug that you go through all that pain and suffering, and then when you come out, like you said, you relapse in a week, then you went a little longer, then you went a little longer, and now you've been 2 years. But what is it about that drug that makes people just want to go right back?
So I think it's just the whole environment of everything. The first 2 times when I came home and relapsed, it was because I still thought, like I said, I can go back to the same bars and just be a designated driver, the same guy and be completely fine, the same group of friends and be fine. It wasn't until I just switched everything, and my 3rd time in treatment was when I stayed clean, and still everyone I know in Maryland is part of my recovery network. So, even if I wanted to go out, I couldn't. I mean, I could,
Yeah,
but,
So you think when you're in treatment and you get hooked up into the aftercare, that being around people like you and us who are in recovery, that keeps you going?
Of course, yes.
Whether it's 12-step or just a group of friends that feel like, let's stay sober together. Let's go out and have fun. Yeah. We don't have to drink. We don't have to drug. Is that like a critical thing for people?
Of course. I think that's the most important thing. There's been many times I'm part of this 12-step program as well, and there's been many times I go just because my friends are going, and they just help keep me accountable, And it wasn't until I came to treatment and I met those few people, and then you have to be careful about who you meet in treatment, because not everyone stays, not everyone does the same thing you're doing, but it helps you, especially PHP, like just introduce you to new people and introduce you to the right people and get accommodated and feel comfortable. Because like I said, 2 years later, I would never imagine I was still living in Maryland.
I mean, it's fascinating, and I'm glad we're talking about it so honestly that people understand that, yes, you can go to treatment, and if you relapse, you can go back. So we're going to talk more about it. Jaime Montanino, she works at the Fresh Start Recovery Center in Gaithersburg, Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C., and she's sharing her story, and she's going to stay with us because we're going to bring one of her fellow co-workers up when we come back and continue talking. So when we come back to Straight Talk, we're talking about relapse and treatment. Stay with us, we're coming right back.
Who helps a hero? Who tells the story of their scars? The freedom and safety of so many, of us all, is earned by the sacrifices of so few. Who helps a hero? We all do. The Gary Sinise Foundation works to support America's defenders and strengthen their families through entertainment, the construction of smart homes for our wounded heroes, and by inspiring and educating others to also support the veterans within their own communities. We enjoy the benefits of their sacrifice and service each day. Now it's time we serve them. Find out how you can help our heroes at GarySiniseFoundation.org. While we can never do enough to show our gratitude to our nation's defenders, we can always do a little more.
Ronnie was definitely a kid that was going somewhere. He had huge dreams and aspirations.
Ronnie was very popular in the neighborhood.
Growing up, we both played the same sports. When he was doing good, that just drove me to reach him.
He had a full scholarship to play down at Tennessee State, to be the next player to come out of Tennessee State and play in the NFL.
Ronnie started doing prescription pills at the age of 15.
His mood changed. He changed. It was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
He knew where he could go in the community to get pills.
The kids are getting them from your medicine cabinet.
He went downhill so fast, no one could save him.
He overdosed.
That was probably the hardest thing I ever seen, ever.
And Ronnie was buried in his red game jersey. I just didn't feel it was right for anyone else to wear that other jersey, so I took it. Every time my kids come into this room, it starts a conversation, and we need to talk about it.
You gotta sit your kids down. You just gotta tell them about the severity of the problem.
I never thought my son would take prescription drugs without a prescription.
Help save kids from prescription drug abuse. Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Hi, welcome back to Straight Talk. We're talking about recovery from addiction and how relapse plays a part in that recovery. Everyone always says, oh, we went to treatment and then he relapsed, and went to treatment and relapsed. And we're learning that relapse is probably part of treatment. And so we've got a couple wonderful people here who have been through it, who are helping us understand it. And we were talking with Jaime Montanino, and now we're being joined by Tommy Cothran. Tommy, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. Jaime was talking about her addiction to alcohol and her relapse, and I know you have a story, and you're from New York.
Westchester County, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about your story a little bit.
I've gone to 7 different states to try to get clean. I've been getting high for about a decade. Yeah, it was a long road. It was a long journey. Started with with pot, and then for the last 8 years, I couldn't stop smoking crack and shooting heroin, and then, I mean, obviously it progressed in between the Oxycontin, Xanax, and then it ended up with a needle in my arm and a crack pipe in my mouth. That was, I mean, obviously the consequences come with that. Countless detoxes, tons of treatment centers, numerous arrests, county jails all over the place, and yeah, I mean, and then it finally ended up, I've been homeless a number of times, and it ended up, I was homeless once again in Philadelphia at this point, and I'll save you all the gory details, but I got pulled out of there in pretty tragic fashion and ended up in Maryland. I knew no one, and it was like my 7th state I was trying to get clean in. So I traveled all over the country just running from myself, pretty much. So.
But you were jumping into treatment center after treatment center.
Yeah, I was. I had private insurance, and that's what I knew. I always had a fallback plan because I was insured, and if I didn't get arrested, I knew I could call a detox and go that night. And then finally, it was just I would say I could. I've gone to the mountains of Georgia to try to get clean because I didn't think I could get high there, and I had my drug dealer mail me drugs there. So, ways and means, nothing could stop me. You had to physically remove me from it.
Did you ever reach a point where you were serious about wanting to stop? Because it sounds like you were just kind of using treatment as just a stopover for a couple of days until you got hold of some drugs. But did you ever reach a point where you really wanted to stop? Before the end, when you really did stop?
I'd say every time I went in there, a part of me wanted to stop, because I was very, I'd drag myself through hell and I'd live in torture, and a part of me really did. A very small part of me did want to. And then even this last time, though, there was still only a really small part. I just wanted an oil change. I wanted to feel a little better, remove myself from the drug for a little bit, feel a little better, get a little trust back, and go back off to the races. But yeah, I'd always say like a little part of me Wanted to stop.
A small part.
Yeah.
Did it get better when you went to more treatment?
No.
No?
All it did was the group changed. The groups
Just
changed.
gave you a little break from the streets for a couple of
Yeah.
days.
And I wasn't even I didn't stay in treatment. I was normally, you know, once I was a detox guy. Normally, once I physically felt better, you know, I knew I'd have it in me to rip and run one more time.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I would do. I'd leave detox, normally AMA, against medical advice.
I asked Jamie this before, and I know it's hard to try to explain addiction, you know, and how powerful that drug is, but it just sounds like it just controlled everything in you. And even a couple of days in treatment, you still couldn't wait to get back to that drug.
Yeah. No, I mean, I put everything aside for the drug. There wasn't nothing I wouldn't do to get it. And, you know, I mean, it had its grips in me so deep for so long where it was like, and I didn't care what the consequences were normally. You know, I've sacrificed family for years, not even talking to them. You know, it didn't matter what the consequence was in front of me. If it was jail, this, that, the third, none of it mattered. As long as I was high, I was okay.
What made the difference the last time you went in for treatment?
God intervened. Somebody, I call it God, but something intervened. I'd like to say that I was just completely done. I was completely just so tired. My arms hurt. Everything in my body was just in pain. And I was just, everything had become so monumental. And I had a real taste of recovery. Like I did have a taste of recovery prior. When I came to Maryland, I did have a taste of recovery. And like I knew how drastically better my life was. So I knew what the other side was, but the problem was getting to the other side. And
now you had gotten clean and started working in the field, but then you relapsed.
Yeah, I went back.
How long were you clean before you relapsed that time?
About 9-10 months.
9-10 months. So you had some pretty good clean time.
For me, it felt like a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know,
now what happened there? You were in the field helping others, and then you started using.
It was a string of incidents.
Yeah.
My father had passed away. You know, I took my will back is the best way to put it. Is I just stopped working on myself. I did no work on myself, and I said, Tom.
And now you've been clean.
A year and a half, 18
A year and a
months.
half, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. And you're back working in the field, helping others.
Yeah.
And doing.
I do outreach. I'm an outreach coordinator. I mainly focus on, you know, I work with the courts. I work with different employment organizations, and yeah, I mean, I just found a passion in it, you know.
And that's good. And that's good. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to talk about that relapse. What can we tell people out there that maybe will make a difference to them so they don't have to go through 16 rehabs and go through what you guys went through. But thank you so much for being here. We'll take a short break. When we come back to Straight Talk, we're going to continue talking with Tommy Cothran and Jaime Montanino and about their stories and about the great work they're now doing to help others. So stay with us. We're coming right back to Straight Talk.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Find fun activities to do, like boating and biking, or camping and hiking, plus much more. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit Discover the Forest.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
Hi, welcome back to Straight Talk. We're talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery, but looking at the fact that so many people do relapse. And what can we do to maybe prevent that or accept it and understand it? We're joined by Tommy Cothran, who has been clean now for how long?
18 months.
18 months. And Jaime Montanino, who's been clean 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations again to you guys, and thank you for sharing your story. We want to try to let the public know what they need to do. What are some things they can do? What have you learned, Jaime, from your experience that you would hopefully do different if you found yourself? I mean, when you relapse, do you just feel like, God, I know I've been clean, but I just want to drink so bad? What happens?
So for me, it was like I needed to find my new normal. It was the biggest thing. Like at the time, my normal was weekends, going to bars and doing this and doing that. Like now my normal is going to meetings and going out to dinner after. And even if it's not like meetings or 12-step or anything, it's just getting that support of people who just care about you, that doesn't require getting under the influence or using substances. It's just acquiring that new normal and getting rid of like all of those old things that used to trigger you, or even if it was yourself, because I know myself, I triggered myself when I was bored.
Right.
It was entertaining myself, whether it be calling someone or finding a good Netflix show to watch,
Right.
just to like distract myself.
But it's a good way to put it, a new normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tommy, was that the same with you? Like finding that once you found people and things that were enjoyable, you could live your life, because you had said that you experienced a little bit of that good life without getting high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I mean, yeah, I had to.
Like, what keeps you now? But you know,
I mean, I had to change everything. You know, everything about me, I had to change. Now I'm more, I don't know, I found my vices, you know, in 12-step meetings, and also, you know, in things like the gym, and, you know, I'm pretty active in my son's life now, so that's like a big thing for me is, you know, I'm with my son a lot, so it's like doing things with him, and you know, then I have the gym, and, you know, I have meetings, I have people I could rely on, I have people that I could, you know, hold me accountable, so I had to change everything I wasn't used to. I was very uncomfortable in the beginning, and now I came to a sense of, I don't want to say comfort, but more, I'm very content with where.
So that's your new normal. I like that phrase. It is, because it is, because your normal life before was something went wrong, get high, drink, whatever. Now you've got, is it also building different like coping mechanisms or things that maybe years ago you would have ran and had a drink or a drug, and now maybe you handle it differently? Do you see that?
Yeah, 100%. For me, when I was drinking, and I still sometimes struggle with it now, is like not talking about it, isolating, thinking no one can relate. But now, like, I've developed these close relationships with people that they can understand like when I'm trying to do that. And that's a gift of recovery, I think of. And people can read through you more when you're not using substances, and they can tell like when I'm being quiet and standoffish, where I just kind of want to isolate. They now know like there's something going on with her, you know? Right. And it's pretty amazing, and it's something I never experienced before, but it's still something I'm trying to get used to. Like for me, it's just, I need my alone time to kind of decompress and recharge, but also I can abuse that as well by just kind of like disassociating with people. So I feel like everything is just kind of, you know, that equaling each other out. And luckily I have people who will help me with that.
Now you're both working at Fresh Start Recovery Centers in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and you're helping others. What do you tell others who are, you know, maybe they're new in the program and they might be a little shaky? Do you give them any tips, Tommy? What would you tell them?
I mean, just don't give up, even when, because I did that for so long. And when things go good, like, don't question it. You know, normally that was a big thing. I was like, I'm getting this good life that I don't deserve, that I'm not like comfortable with at all. And I would say, I know what will cure this. And I would do dope or something like that. But it's more like, just hold on for the ride and like take suggestions. Like remain teachable at all times in the program. And that's what worked best for me. And it's not a one-size-fits-all program, though. So what might work for me doesn't work for Jamie. What might, you know, so, and vice versa. So,
what about people who have went through treatment and now they're transitioning back into society? What do you tell them?
So for me, also, like the first 2 times when I relapsed, I went from a 28-day like intense inpatient just to being home, back there. The only way it worked for me was I did, you know, the PHP to IOP to Oxford to eventually living on my own. Okay. And that was the only way it worked for me. I mean, it's different for everybody, but for me, it was kind of like transitioning, you know, getting held accountable and just slowly.
I can't thank you guys enough, really. This was terrific, and I hope, you know, you understand, hopefully you'll help a lot of people. So thanks, both of you, for being on the show. Today on Straight Talk, we're talking about relapse with some wonderful people, Tommy Cothran, Jaime Montanino from Fresh Start Recovery Centers. I can't thank them enough, and it's important. I also want to let you know some exciting news that Straight Talk, these shows, will be available now on the AmetysRecoveryCenters.com website. You can go there. We've got 30 to 40 new shows that are on there that you can learn about addiction, learn about recovery, watch it as a family, watch it as a teacher in a school. It's a way that we can communicate. We hear from great people like we did today. So please utilize that, and hopefully you can learn a little bit more. I really want to thank all our guests. I want to thank you for watching Straight Talk, and we'll see you next time.